for your glass?
Yes.
Much nicer. Hi.
Check 1, 2, 1,
Hello
2.
everyone. Welcome. Thank you for coming, obviously. I'm Braden. I work here at Distill. And I just wanted to welcome David and Helena, and as well as Michael, and thank them for launching Oh God the Sun Goes at the bookshop. I'm going to hand it off to Michael, who's our MC for the evening, and he's going to take things away.
Hey everyone, I'll take a minute for everyone just to get cozy, settle in, grab the stools if you want them. My name's Michael. I'm a writer and editor who lives in the neighborhood. David asked me to come and introduce this evening, and it's actually a real pleasure. Originally we were going to do this at a space called Antiism, but we ended up getting shut down by a bunch of really terrible landlords whose names you probably know, who kicked us out of a really beautiful space there. But it's amazing to be doing things in Distill in the bookstore here. Thank you, Odd, so much for having this beautiful space and like actually having a bookstore that like is engaged with literary community. It's special and feels all the more special these days. First off, we're on unceded land. And by unceded, it means it's a fancy way of saying stolen land. I'm really trying to think through ways of doing a proper land acknowledgement these days because of the way that it gets inscribed by institutions who couldn't give a fuck. You know, we're on Kanien'kehá:ka. We're on land that has been cared for by the Kanien'kehá:ka Nation. It's a space where Huron-Wendat, Anishinaabe, Abenaki people gathered for a long period of time. And in that gathering, there's a sense of cultivation and care for the land and relationality to the land that is broken or made other by a sense of property that is enforced upon and is one of the primary ways of warfare of settler colonialism. There's a really great, in thinking through land acknowledgement, there's a really incredible project being done at the CCA these days by Ange Loft. That's all about place names and place histories. That's going to be going on next week. I'm going to point that out. She's a really amazing scholar and artist from Kahnawake. And I saw this incredible performance by Cliff Cardinal, who's a Lakota Sioux Cree performance artist a few weeks ago, and he did this incredible thing about the land acknowledgement where he's just like, one thing we should do is acknowledge land, but also like, let's acknowledge some other land, like what are the Catholic church that ran the residential schools in this neighborhood, like let's name those spaces. And I thought this was a really good idea to start like being like, oh, there's this space nearby here that, and I'm sure the city is rife with those spaces. So again, research to do and things to look into and to be mindful of. To switch toward this evening, I'm really excited to do something for David here, and it's so awesome to see so many people come out in the rain for David. If you haven't encountered the novel yet, people sort of like appear in this kind of like hallucinatory way out of nowhere. And I feel this way about David into my life, which is like I heard a story about this novelist who had moved to town from LA or from New York or something like that. I was from Mustafa actually, and from the basketball crew that David's a part of. I'm sure there's many representatives of it here. And just walking down the street one day after hearing about David from time to time, he just like, all of a sudden we're walking down the street together and having a conversation about this book that's going to be coming out. I heard it's coming out with Melville House, amazing. It's a really brilliant work. It is incredible to read. It's so fun to read. It's incredibly cinematic. It has this really incredible dreamlike negotiation of space and territory and the self in relation to others that is happens in this way that always feels like it's about to like kind of like the bottom is about to give out in this kind of incredible way, and yet you keep traversing a space, and I'm sure we'll get a sense of that this evening. I know David's been touring this book and thinking about it and talking about it over the past like week or two with Helena. And I was gonna say before we begin the evening, there's going to be two participants in this evening. Johnny is going to read, and Helena is going to converse possibly and hang out with David and play some music. But I was curious why David. I mean, it's just a really interesting coming together. So I wanted to ask you why you invited these people.
Cool. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, Michael. And also, yeah, thank you to Distill Bookstore for putting this on. I want to thank Helena for joining me tonight. I want to thank Johnny Rundau, who's going to read in a bit, for driving up today from Western Massachusetts to be here. We have a seat for you up here. Come up. Yeah. Yeah, I mean it's a packed house. That's sweet. I think we'll try to keep it short, just since there's so many standers among us. I think Johnny will read a bit. I'll read a bit from the novel, and then Helena may play music. Yeah. Okay, we can do it. Cool. Yeah. So it is. I invited Johnny, who's a brilliant poet. Whose book Time Regime came out about a year ago, and it just won the California Book Award, which is kind of astounding, an astounding thing to win, and yeah.
Okay, this poem is called Gradient Becoming the Wound itself. Where there is no shadow, I sit in the grass looking out. You are there across the river, that is to say, on the river, blurring these surfaces. So this, the system of dying we've come around to. In orbit, arching past your hand in the center of the wall, at the center of how we are called home. From across the valley, grass at a high frequency, creating the hills, the disappeared, called back from borders of violence, a mosaic. I receive my visions, my senses from these waters, where we meet in intervals. It is why I shift crash through embankments and curses. This blue theater of light, theater of sapphire unsettling. Do you feel me? The nearness that is in my blood. At the perimeter of attention, there is the fragmentist, invoking Ovid and Darvish, weeping, and there are fingers floating stitches across a vast shawl of tenderness. Whole with the ways we've sat quietly together. Capacious. We are following an earth of sound, organelle of sound. Here is the hill's echo, or wind's liquid. In the mildness of this, I'm covered in water. Though there is ease in it, our mouths soft around departure, we're suspended. This is the velocity I'm gathered up by, in the open detail of our shared substance. Or when you were the mountain, a quality of disintegration, when you were the mountain in the mildness of this. And I'll read just only one more, because I want time for mingling and conversation and music. Okay, so I'm going to read, it's a three-part poem, and it's called Soft Power. And you will hear kind of sounds that are in the Punjabi language, which is my father's mother tongue. You will hear kind of references to shared spiritual traditions, and you will hear colonial echoes. Soft Power. Movement 1. Black Kali is out walking, summoning trashed radiant ghosts. Strung along a boat's hull, I am held by a pin pushed through my cheek, and tourists are floating by, like shiny trash wads thrown off the sprawl's bridges. In this voyage, we are carried to the water's dam-choked tapers, deliriously dry, mapping the edges of access, challenging their certainty. An inlet child slides his eyes across us, scale, vector, and refracting heaps. He squats, unmoving, fists balled. Thrown together, the angle of the moon setting, varnished fingernails tucked and dug into his palms, thrown together, causing something to fracture. Movement 2. She will be witness, widening the horizon. I see shorn locks of hair gathered in wet mounds bobbing. Inland, encircling a fruit-spangled tree, architects codify a sister's labor, misremember the scrape of trailing cane fraying against the earth. Corresponding, an act of violence and its aftershock are iridescent and uncomfortably flat. Their closed circuit is poison. Meh, ote hai, doing something else to the water. A kerchief, stained and orange, covers my hair, muddy street shoes stacked intimately together in cubbies. I am a child behind a tree, in a parking lot. The sky, also muddy and low, the subdivided strip mall. I am forgetting which unmarked door leads to the Gurdwara. Raised, with Sikhi, outside subcontinent, I learn implicitly that there is no goddess in my mandar, no third space. I learn with knees on the ground and butter in my mouth. Movement 3. She will devour your cannibalism. I'm in the store, looking for sanitary napkins, and I'm hovering over an embankment where my sister, wearing a sports top, shifts into glare, roasting a cache of small blue fish. Acha, meh, ote hai, hole in my cheek whistling. Air and meat between the farrier's molars go, slipping into the gullet. It's through these portals I enter, go, ch, ch, and lift a bag gummed with wax, and pick the shoes up by their tongues, tug at old stuff matted in my pockets. To welcome, ch, ch. To let the language beat up and break loose, I had to recycle those things we inherited. An impossible coveting, our stolen neutered seeds, an envelope of pink plastic, glacial moss, lotus blooming in chorus.
Thank you, John. Yeah. And he becomes aware of this man named Dr. Higley, who is an expert on the sun, who might know something about where it's gone. And he lives in Sun City, Arizona, which is a real town in Arizona. And one other thing is, so the sun's missing, but it's been replaced by this kind of hyper bright absence. And so we pick up here as the narrator pulls into Sun City, Arizona. I'm gonna sit down. Uh-oh, wrong part. Okay. A city emerges from flatness, like floating, like falling slowly asleep. If the town of Sun City appeared as a vision in a dream, it would most likely be a daydream. And it would most likely be a town where all the houses are the same, more or less. The lawns the same hue of green, the streets aligned in the same way in each corner of the grid. At one end of town, there would be a golf course with a large water fountain at the center, a man-made lake with ducks and lily pads and reeds along the side. At the center of town, there would be a post office, and a post office employee standing outside the office waving. In the corner of his eye, there would be a reflection of a bird traveling at a few hundred feet above ground. The bird's vision taking in an aerial view of the scene, which reveals a town in the shape of a perfect O, a circle of houses surrounding a radial center and expanding out towards the desert in perfect symmetry. A sun city indeed, a town in the shape of a sun. If Sun City appeared in a dream, it would be a dream induced by the heat of the desert, or induced in a state of delusion brought on from driving too many miles. If Sun City were a town in a dream, it would be a town that doesn't make sense in the desert, too round, too green. If Sun City were a town in a dream, it would be a retirement town, and all of its residents would be over the age of 65. They would drive golf carts and wear similar shirts and make jokes whose punchlines ended with immediate laughter. The laughter would start violently and then trail off as everyone caught their breath. If Sun City were a town in a dream, it would be a desert town, a sleeping eye, a flattened sun. But Sun City is not a town in a dream, but a town in Arizona, in the northern bounds of the Maricopa County line, just 20 miles north of Phoenix, a few miles farther from Tempe. Is everything all right? A voice asks as I step out of my car into the asphalt parking lot. A man stands at the center of the asphalt, a pair of binoculars in his hands. He's an older man, a resident of Sun City. Is everything all right? He asks again, setting the binoculars to his side. The man is heavy-set, blue-eyed, reddish face. On his shirt he has a tag that reads parking lot attendant. I'm all right, I say, gathering to my feet. Just here to meet somebody. Who's that? Says the man, stepping closer. I'm looking for the sun, I say. I'm here to see Dr. Higley. It becomes clear that the man is a longtime resident of Sun City, a volunteer at the visitor center. He pauses for a minute and his face becomes redder. Higley, says the man. Higley. That's right, I say. I believe he lives here. Well, this is a retirement town, says the man, looking straight at me, then blinking. We've got over 20,000 residents here. I look around. Higley, repeats the man, adjusting the tag on his shirt. It's a collared shirt, color of mud. He ruffles it. You know what, he says. That name sounds familiar. Let me run inside and check. The man turns around and disappears through a pair of double doors, Visitors Center. A moment later, he comes back with a note in his hand. I got a hold of his wife, he says, Martha, slipping me the note. 14073 Oakmont Drive. That's the address. And so you know they're not expecting you for a few hours. That's what I thought, I say. Thank you. If you've got time, adds the man in a low voice, there's somewhere in town I think you should visit. It's not far from their house. Good place to pass an hour. Sure, I say. It's the Sun City Museum, says the man. Good place to pass time. Okay, I say. I'll think about it and thank him. Just to pass time, says the man, smiling. I nod and head back towards my car, and the man returns to his post and reaches for his binoculars. He waves as I leave the parking lot. Just to pass time, he yells again, waving. A minute later, he's gone. A minute later, I'm driving through the middle of Sun City, past one-story bungalow houses and rooftop satellite dishes and sprinklers in yards twisting in precise mechanical spasms, relieving the grass of its dryness and heat. Must be the hour for that, because the sprinklers are moving at a fairly quick pace, turning each yard into a color of green that doesn't belong in the desert. After some driving, a yard appears up ahead with a sign in the front reading Sun City Museum, so I pull over the car and step outside. All right, I'll stop there. Yeah. This table is set up so nicely for like a combo, but I think we might pass on that for the sake of more mingling time.
Unless anyone has a question for David.
One question. One question. Quick. All right, no questions. Okay, so.
Do you want to talk a bit or? Just a little bit?
Question. Okay.
I just want to know what happens at the museum.
I know.
Me
too.
I guess I gotta find the book.
Gotta buy the book. All I'll say is that it's a real museum
Wow.
Oh,
that I visited in Sun City, Arizona. And it's one of the more kind of fantastical parts of the book, but it also is very accurate.
I'm gonna ask a question.
Okay.
I want you to talk about the choreography in the book.
Oh my God. Yes, there is. Well, also, when Michael, this is probably particularly interesting to you because you recently put out a book with the choreographer Dana Michelle, where you're sort of, in some way, turning a choreography into text. Yeah, there's some dancing in the book. There's some dancing in the book. If you make it through the book, you'll get to the dancing. Yeah.
I was just wondering if the sun going missing was like your first idea, or if it just happened while you're writing, or when that sort of came about.
Yeah, I was reading a lot of Bataille, Solar Anus, and the Story of the Eye, and the title came first. Oh God, the sun goes. It came sort of as a feeling, as a sort of oh God is language that is kind of more of an exclamation or a sound than words, and the book is grappling with a sense of loss that felt truest to tackle through sound almost more than like narrative structure. And so it started with that title, started with the first few sentences, and then it really was an experiment in the sense that I didn't know where it was going. Yeah. All right, let's get some music from Helena. Yeah. yeah, thanks everyone for sharing. I think we'll get a couple songs from Helena. I think, so Helena has, I'm not allowed to pronounce this.
Yeah.
Helena has an album that's going to come out in a couple months. Which is just really phenomenal. It's so beautiful. And lyrically grappling with some of the similar content as my book, maybe. You guys saw it, yeah, but yeah.
Sun City Museum moment.
Really?
I wish.
But yeah, I don't know. I mean,
I just asked David to choose the song.
I chose the song "Bright Green, Vibrant Gray," which will be on the next album, which is really wonderful. And is getting at, is sort of dancing around loss in a similar way as the book. Yeah. You want to start with that one?
Yes. All right. It is not explicitly about loss, but I wrote it in the early stages of grief, and so I think it's like very. I don't usually write in this tone of like being aware of my own mortality. Let's put it that way. Okay. Okay.
You asked me what I'm thinking of immediately. No, because I laugh, and the way that I laugh means it's something about you. And the shimmer this day has river to swim through. It's true, it's kind of funny. Take my hand and run me to the shore. Dune grass, cool wind blows. I know what I didn't know before. Press the palm-sized rock to your mouth. It's brighter colors pour right out. The view in the morning rain welcomes us like no painting. With bright green, vibrant gray, and everything pulsating. 400 million years opened wide and no waiting. Rocks you keep in your car door have traveled through far more than your life. Windows down, you sing along. I don't think I've heard this song before. Windows down, you sing along. I don't think I've heard this song before.
Time's up. Wanting to leave Montreal and being unable to. I don't know if anyone relates. It's hard. It's nice here.
Bitten by a spring bug, it gets me every time. This year I'm on my own and the buzz is all mine. When it starts getting fun, much they ask to sit. I try leaving fast enough to outrun them. Remember that's a bad plan, their thing, not mine. I can't decline. Stay just a little longer, don't be none the wiser. And hey, as long as you don't keep me up at night, it's easy, you can have them on. Stay just a little longer, don't be none the wiser. Hey, as long as you don't keep me up at night, it's easy, you can have them on me. Tell me that's right. It all counts the evasions, every procrastination. After all, run down the same streets I did last time it bit me, and time would act all funny, and I'd stand so still for all its pauses. Time will buckle down and pass me. If this spring's already a memory, then I should leave till I